I'm still really worried about the 900 plus beads. So it's Tuesday, 3rd of March. Specs for the first Sock Madness round have gone up, and it is sock B. And I am using Cookston Crafts 4-ply sock in the colourway Silver, which is this one for my main colour. And I'm going to be using some hand dye that I did from my workshop last year at Woolly Good Gathering with the yarn company For the Love of Yarn, and it's a little mini skein that I did. And there are 900 size 8 beads in the colours Capri, Cobalt and Amethyst, and these are all silver lined. So the mods left it very, very late. I think we were down to like the last half hour before the 48-hour window closed, and the socks have been announced, and they are the Quasar socks by Carol and Lyle, and it's a really interesting cabled slip stitch design with 900 beads, so 450 beads per sock. Oh my. Now obviously beading socks, it takes time. I had planned to use wire, which I think I mentioned in last week's episode, and that worked great for hooking all the beads up onto the wire. However, the wire did not go through the beads with the yarn, and what I did create was a brilliant tool for cracking beads and scattering the parts everywhere. So I actually ended up using some Sashiko thread I had left over and a needle, and I basically pre-strung all the beads, and when I was beading I had to take the stitch I wanted to put the beads on, and I was kind of matching the colours to what the yarn was doing. So if it was a blue section I was using the blue, if it was purple, purple, and so on. So basically I'd thread the needle through the stitch and through the 2 beads that was required for each stitch, and then I would bring the needle back out through the loop, put the stitch back on the needle and do it. Now the pattern originally had you just doing like 2 stitches per row beaded, and I found that was slowing me off a lot. So I sat down with the chart and I figured out which row I could basically bead every single stitch on that row at once, and it meant that rather than have slow rounds every single time, I had one really slow round where I was putting all the beads on, and in some cases with things like the gusset that might be sort of 10 stitches or something that all needed multiple beads. But by doing it this way, it meant that the next 3 rounds were fine. I didn't have to worry about beading and I could just knit. I don't know whether it was faster in the long run, but it felt faster for me personally doing it this way, and it was just a lot easier. I will say that trying to do the stitch with the needle and thread was problematic. I kept getting the needle through the stitch itself, and you can see here I've had to, you can see how I'm getting myself knotted, and not the way I really like to do beading. I realised subsequently that the beads I used on the Sock Salad mod from the pre-warm-up period, the beads I was using there were actually size 6, and the wire went through those fine, whereas obviously size 8 are significantly smaller, and that just wasn't going to work. So the needles I use for the embroidery of these were the easy thread, where you just kind of like clip the yarn in rather than having to rethread it through the eye every single time. And it did mean that when I was having problems getting getting the needle and thread back out of the stitch, I could just take the needle off, pull the thread out easily, and then just carry on. And it wasn't that I was having to stop and really faff trying to rethread the needle every time. So yeah, so that was a long and torturous process for those bits, but the effect is really, really cool. So a quick update, it's Monday and I've made very good progress. I'm through the heels and the gussets and everything of both socks. I've been working these in tandem. I did try doing 2 at the time at the start, which was a complete and utter mistake. Not because my contrast colour strands were getting tangled. No, I was tangled with the ball of yarn. I don't know what I did, but it was a right pain. And yeah, so you can see how I've been doing the beads, sort of matching the colours to what the yarn's doing, and I absolutely love how these look. And astonishingly, in 5 days, I have managed to knit both of these socks. The legs weren't too long, so it's not too bad. But yeah, I'm incredibly proud of myself. I'm actually amazed that I managed to knit them that quickly, but hey, I'll take it. I love the colours I chose, so I'm exceedingly happy with that. I did do the legs on 2.5mm needles, and I really wish that I had done the cuffs at 2.25 because they are a little loose, but honestly that's not a problem. And yeah, so all that was left to do was figure out how much yarn I used. So 46 grams of my main colour, and I think it worked out perfectly as 10 grams of my contrast. So I have half that little ball left, so I'm exceedingly happy with how that all worked out. And yeah, I finished up adding all of this into my yarn journal, and yeah, got the socks submitted. I got them approved within a couple of hours, and I was actually the second person on my team to finish the socks, so I'm rather proud that I managed to finish that in that time. So yeah, so 2 rounds down, if we count qualifying in round 1, and just have to wait and see what comes up next. So yeah, round 1 of Sock Madness is done. As I say, I'm through to round 2. I have a bonus sock on the needles at the moment, which is spending some of its time off the needles because I keep frogging it. But I have something to keep me occupied until the next pattern drops, and I can't wait to see which one's next. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video or you'd like to see more from Sock Madness, why not click that like button and hit subscribe, and I'll catch you next time.